Hello everyone, greetings of the day. This is Nikita Kori from NSDL Inspection Department. In my presentation, we'll talk about compliance requirements and participant inspection. As a depository participant, every DP is required to perform day-to-day operations and have to comply with various regulatory requirements as mentioned in the Depositories Act 2018, SEBI Regulations 2018, bylaws of NSDL, business rules of NSDL, and circulars issued by SEBI and NSDL, etc. The objective of this compliance training program is to keep our depository participants updated about latest developments, compliance requirements, and circulars to strengthen their internal control systems and operations and ensure that depository participants are in compliance as per regulations. We request all depository participants to adhere to the applicable timelines for submission of various compliances. In this presentation, we'll understand various periodical submissions applicable to depository participant and submitted to NSDL periodically. The first report, which is Investor Grievance Report, which is to be submitted monthly. Due date for submission of this report is by 10th of the following month. The mode of submission is through online platform ePass, which is developed by NSDL. Depository participants having multiple DPIDs would have to submit a single consolidated investor grievance report for all the depository IDs, depository participant IDs. This report should include all the information regarding investor grievances received and redressed by the participant. Further, depository participants are also required to maintain investor grievance registered in hard copy or a soft copy to keep the records of grievances. Second report which has to be submitted is Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning Program. As mentioned in NSDL Circular Reference Number 006 dated March 27, 2019, this is only applicable to DPs who are offering or using applications or systems as defined in Annexure B of SEBI Circular by completing the AIML reporting form. Hence, this report is not applicable to DPs who are not offering or using AIML applications or system. The due dates are for the quarter January to March. The due date for submission will be April 15. For the quarter April to June, it will be July 15. From July to September, it will be October 15, and from October to December, it will be January 15. The next report is Cyber Security and Cyber Resilience Framework of Depository Participant. As per NSDL Policy Reference Number 0039 dated 9 July 2019, this report also has to be submitted quarterly by 15th of the following month on online platform ePass. Depository participants shall required to submit the report of cyber attacks and threats experienced and measures taken to mitigate vulnerabilities, threats, and attacks, including information on bugs, vulnerabilities, threats that may be useful for other participants for the said quarter. This report also has to be submitted quarterly. The due date is same as per the AIML reporting form. Next report, which you have to go look for it, compliance certificate. Compliance certificate needs to be submitted by all the depository participants on half-yearly basis. The due date for compliance submission of compliance certificate is as follows. For January to June, the due date will be 31st of July. For July to December, the due date will be January 31st. Compliance certificate is required to be submitted by depository participant to certify that the depository operations of DPs are in compliance with all the applicable laws, including Depositories Act 2018, the bylaw and business rule of NSDL, and Prevention of Money Laundering Act 2002 and the rules and guidelines. The compliance officer will be required to submit the digitally signed compliance certificate online through ePass platform, prescribed format by January 31st and July 31st of every year. Before submission, they need to ensure that the details of digital signature of compliance officer is registered and updated with NSDL records. In case there is any change in details of compliance officers or alternate compliance officer, name, email ID, and mobile number of participant required to inform the same in email ID nsdl-bpinspection@nsdl.co.in. So make sure the details of compliance officers are updated with as per NSDL record. The fifth report which we have to submit is risk assessment template, that is which has to be submitted half yearly. Due date is the same as for April to September, it is 31st October. October to March, due date will be 30th April. SEBI has advised that the information on risk assessment of participants must be provided on half-yearly basis. Information is being provided by depository participant would have to be digitally signed by compliance officer and internal auditor of the participant. Depository participants are required to provide the information in risk assessment template to NSDL through the online platform named E-Participant Inspection Audit and Supervision System, that is EPAS, which was developed to facilitate depository participants to provide the required information which will be further submitted to SEBI. As the name suggests, risk assessment templates means which includes like net worth as at the end of the previous year and the current year, value of holdings in the beginning of the year with DP, number of service centers, percentage of DIS processed electronically, number of investor complaints, shareholding pattern, etc. All these details need to be provided by compliance officer and verified by the respective internal auditor before submission. Our next report is internal and concurrent audit report, which has to be submitted on half-yearly basis. Due date for submission of half-yearly concurrent audit report is for the period of 1st April to 30th September, the report has to be submitted before 15th of November. For the period October 1st to March 31st, the report has to be submitted before 15th of May. Depository participants are aware that as per NSDL bylaw 10.3, each depository participant is required to have its depository operations audited by a qualified chartered accountant or a company secretary or a cost and management accountant holding a certificate of practice. Based on such audit, a copy of the report should be submitted to NSDL on half-yearly basis. Audit should cover all the facets of the depository operations. Auditor may expand the scope of audit or add more audit points to achieve these objectives. Concurrent audit has to be completed by next working day. If audit cannot be completed by next working day due to large volume, it must be completed within a week. Any person conducting the internal and or concurrent audit should obtain certification from the national NISM by passing the NISM Series 6 Depository Operations Certification Examination. Depository participants are also advised to extend full cooperation to their internal auditors to enable them to perform an effective audit. It is recommended that the internal auditor may visit adequate number of service centers on sample basis to check whether proper procedures are being followed at such service centers. Our next report is tariff sheet. Tariff sheet has to be submitted yearly to NSDL. The due date for which is 30th April. Depository participant needs to file the charge structure every year as per prescribed format, latest by 30th April. Previously, the charge structure had to be submitted on email ID dpfees@nsdl.co.in. However, NSDL has now developed a facility for submission of charge structure on yearly basis through online portal, that is EPAS. Please refer latest circular at 0049 dated 5th April 2023. Further, please note that for updation of any subsequent changes like addition, deletion or modification in aforesaid charge structure by during the year, depository participants will continue to use the existing process of updation through email, that is dpfees@nsdl.co.in. Our next report is Network Certificate and Audited Financial Statement. This report has to be submitted on yearly basis, due date for which is 30th September. As mentioned in NSDL bylaw 10.2.1, each depository participant shall furnish to the depository every year a copy of its audited financial statement not later than 6 months after the end of financial year. Depository participants are also requested to submit the certificate of net worth as of the audited balance sheet date duly certified by chartered accountant in the prescribed format. Due date is, as I already said, September 30. It should be complete in a complete form with all the annexures, schedules, and should be attested by the directors or statutory auditors or practicing chartered accountant. I would also like to highlight here that as per new SEBI notification dated February 23, 2022, it is advised to comply with the net worth criteria, which says that the stockbroker shall have a net worth of rupees 5 crore, which within 2 years of the date of notification of the SEBI Amendment Regulation 2022 as on February 23, 2024. Next report is annual system audit report, which also has to be submitted annually, due date for which is 30th June. The system auditor appointed by depository participant can fill the submit the annual system audit report online through ePass platform using their login credential. Depository participants are directed to arrange to have their systems audited on annual basis by certain impaneled auditor or an independent CISM qualified auditor to check compliance with cybersecurity and cyber resilience framework for depository participant and submit the report to depositories along with the comments of the board or partners or proprietor of the participant within 3 months of the end of the financial year by July 31st. The next report is surveillance reporting. As per NSDL policy 2021-0072 dated July 15, 2021, this report also has to be submitted quarterly by the 15th of the following month. Depository participants are required to provide duly approved status of the alerts on quarterly basis to NSDL within 15 days from the end of the quarter. In case depository participant does not have anything to report, then they need to submit nil report within 15 days from the end of the quarter. The above details shall be uploaded by the participants on NSDL ePass portal. Depository participants are required to generate appropriate surveillance alerts at their end to enable them to effectively monitor the transactions of their clients as per their surveillance policy. The indicative themes on which participants may formulate their own alerts are given in the circular. Example could be a frequent off-market transfers by a client in a specified period, alert for multiple demat accounts opened with same demographic details, or off-market transfers not commensurate as per net worth or income of the client. Participants are also required to maintain register, electronic or physical, for recording of all the alerts generated. While reviewing alerts, participants shall obtain transaction rationale, verify demat account statement, and also obtain supporting documents as required from the client. With respect to the alert generated at the participant end, depository participants shall report instances with adverse observation along with the details of action taken to NSDL within 7 days of the date of identification of adverse observation. Additionally, depository participants shall frame a surveillance policy based on nature of their depository business, type of clients, number of demat accounts, number of transactions, etc. Depository participants are also required to provide duly approved status of the alerts on a quarterly basis in the following format to NSDL within 15 days from the end of the quarter. In addition to these compliance submissions, I would like to discuss few other compliance requirements which have been recently introduced. Nomination for eligible trading and demat accounts. Investors opening new trading or demat account on or after October 1st, 2021 shall have the choice of providing nomination or opting out of nomination. Existing investors who have not submitted nomination details till date and intend to submit their nomination or opt out of nomination may also submit declaration. In this regard, timeline for freezing of account shall come into force with effect from September 30, 2023 instead of earlier timelines of 31st March 2023. Depository participants are advised to encourage their clients to update choice of nomination by sending a communication on fortnightly basis by way of emails, SMS to all such demat accounts wherein choice of nomination is not captured. Second, investor grievance redressal mechanism, that is escalation matrix. As per NSDL Policy Circular 122 issued on September 1, 2022, in order to strengthen the process of handling investor grievances and publishing investor grievance redressal mechanism, publication of escalation matrix on website is mandatory. Few key points which have to be considered are as follows. Avoid same contact number to more than one or all escalated levels. Second, contact numbers to be handled by escalated person and not by IVRS. Contact numbers has to be reachable. IVRS to allow the caller to reach the desired escalated level, and the escalation matrix has to be as per Annexure A. As per NSDL Circular Reference number 0025 dated February 17, 2023, depository participants are mandated to maintain a designated website. The provisions of this circular shall come into effect with effect from 16 August 2023. The URL to the website of a participant shall be reported to the NSDL within a week of this circular coming into effect. That is after 16th August 2023, URL has to be updated with NSDL within a week times from the circular. Any modification in the URL shall be also reported to NSDL within 3 days of such changes. The website shall mandatorily display the following: basic details of the depository participants such as registration number, registered address of head office and branches if any. Second, names and contact details such as email IDs, etc. of all key managerial personnel, including compliance officer. Third, step-by-step procedures for opening an account, filing a complaint on a designated email ID, and finding out the status of the complaint, etc. We will now see about the inspection process. All depository participants are inspected once in a year by a team of NSDL inspecting officers to verify that depository participant operations are in accordance with depository guidelines. Generally, inspections at DPM system locations are conducted after giving advance intimation to business partners at least 21 days prior. After sending intimation letters, details of samples are shared with depository participants before 7 working days. It is expected from depository participants that samples are kept ready for verification on the first day of inspection. During inspection, various operations related areas are covered such as account opening or KYC documents, BSDA, that is Basic Service Demat Account, client account modification, freeze, unfreeze, demat, remat, conversion, reconversion request, delivery instruction slips, transaction, transmission, pledge, compliance under Prevention of Money Laundering Act 2002, maintenance of record and document, service center opening and closing, modification of service center, information technology areas, that is system inspection, miscellaneous areas like investor grievance, operation manuals, status of compliance for deviations, observations noted in last inspection, inspection of service centers of business partners are conducted with or without prior intimation. That is, it may be a surprise inspection. SEBI has prescribed uniform penalty structure for both the depositories, which is mentioned in 18.1 of NSDL bylaws. And both the depositories have agreed upon sampling norms for inspection. It is expected that the internal auditor of depository participant remains present during inspection or on sign-off day, which is usually the last day of inspection, to discuss about scope of internal audit, findings during inspection in order to strengthen the DP operations. In case of any observation is noted, it is further expected that the compliance is reported by the participant within a week's time along with auditor's comments and certification, which also include preventive and corrective measures in order to recurrence of similar observation in future. A surprise inspection may also be conducted by NSDL in case of branch or service center or collection center to verify the services offered from the service centers are in accordance with the NSDL guidelines. Further, it is expected that details of all service centers and branches are reconciled by head office of DP at regular intervals with NSDL database, and changes, if any, needs to be updated with NSDL on immediate basis. Thank you for sparing your valuable time on this important topic. In case of any queries or clarification, please reach out to us on participant-interface at nsdl.co.in. I believe that you find this session informative, and we are looking forward for timely and accurate periodical compliance submissions. Thank you.